about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So, stranger danger has been something that has been used for the last few decades. And it's something that kids have been taught where they're out and about and somebody's coming up to them, they'll scream, stranger danger. And stranger danger starts to alert other people that, oh, there could be danger. There's a stranger. That kid is in trouble. And it was a very effective, shall we say, campaign because it rhymed. Kids could say stranger danger. But some child psychologists are saying, no, that doesn't work. And they suggest we use a different term. Now, what is their beef with stranger danger? Well, the problem they have with stranger danger is there could be a policeman or they could be a fireman. And so they're strangers, but they could be there to help. Although it was interesting because about 20 years ago or about 18 years ago in Vegas, there were some bad people dressing up as cops where kids were going up to them and then they were abducting them. And so, we had to then teach our kids. I remember teaching my boys younger. I go, look, if a cop tells you to come up to him, go to your teacher. Okay, you won't get in trouble. I promise you. Go to your teacher and have your teacher walk you over to the cop. And and I was like, oh my gosh, and I'm like, we're going to pick you up from school. I want to know what the heck is going on here. And luckily they found the people. I got to look that story up. That was some crazy, crazy stuff. Frightening. But anyway, so child psychologists are saying a lot of people are strangers. You might have another family member that they've never seen come into the house and the kids are like stranger danger and freak out. So they say that term is outdated and it doesn't help. They are suggesting that we use another term, quote, tricky person. And they want kids to say tricky person. I'm going to tell you right now, and I know their heart is in the right place, but that's much harder for a kid to say. Tricky person, it's just more difficult to say. A stranger danger is a little easier. It rhymes, it flows. Tricky person. That doesn't alert other people. I told you what I was taught years ago when I was in school, when we were learning self-defense. So I forget what arena this was. It was probably in school, which I think we all should learn self-defense in school. But the coach came in and said, hey guys, if you're ever being attacked or raped, don't scream, I'm being attacked, I'm being raped. Scream fire. And that's what I've taught everybody since. I'm like, if you're being attacked, scream fire. Everybody wants to see where the fire is. If you say rape, attacker, tricky person, people are going to be like, I don't know what that. Now, I mean, if I heard a child scream, I'm going to go and help that child. But, if somebody's saying rape, I'm being raped, they're going to think there's a knife, a gun. People are selfish. They don't always help. You got some amazing Good Samaritans. Like, look at what happened with that pastor where somebody pointed a gun to him, was about to shoot him, and somebody from the congregation jumped him. Oh, my God. Thank God he wasn't killed. But you can't really necessarily tell a kid just scream fire anytime a stranger's coming up to him. But tricky person, I just don't think that's going to have the same effect. Now, the reason why they're saying that is tricky means this person is not necessarily positive. This is tricky. I don't know who they are. Tricky person. And maybe it will go viral, but I just don't think that's going to be as easy. And so what do we need to do with our kids to make sure they're not victims? Many, like that girl, there was an illegal immigrant that grabbed a girl in Florida in front of her home, threw her into his van and raped her. I think this was in broad daylight, and mom was banging on the van to try and get her out. And they caught him eventually. He ran, and the police caught him and arrested him. But strangers oftentimes are not always going to do the lure. They're just going to go and grab you. Because we've taught our kids to not trust strangers. We've taught our kids to, and we've also told parents to maybe slow down on this, go give your Uncle Joe a kiss. And the kid's like, no. Yeah, I never understood that. When parents would be like, go and kiss somebody. I'm not a big kisser in terms of seeing people and, like my husband's family. They were like, no kiss. And I'm like, I'm a hugger. But if I don't know you or I'm not very kissy to strangers. I mean, I don't know what's on your face, your sweat, your makeup. I don't want to get that on my mouth. I'm not a big kisser. And so I hope we're starting to get away from that where, we're telling people, go kiss your Uncle Joe, go kiss your Aunt Thelma, go kiss they don't want to kiss. That's anti-instinctive. But we need to embrace the instinct. If your kid doesn't want to go up to a family member they don't know, don't spank them. Don't punish them. That's instinct. That person is giving them the heebie-jeebies. Your kids can pick up on stuff. I've had family members and my husband, I don't want to go into too much detail, grab my ass. And so if I was a kid and I didn't want to go up to that person, I'm probably picking up on something. Now, what happens is you get all embarrassed that your kid is crying and not going. And so you're all embarrassed. So you feel like you have to do something. I would say if your kid does not want to go up to a family member or a stranger and say, they're a little shy. Most of us understand. I'm not going to force it. I mean, I meet kids and I meet family members. I know I kind of, look all googly eyed. And so usually I can make them giggle. But my niece, she is in that phase where, she fears strangers. So at first she was like, and she was kind of hiding and she was like, she's kind of looking at me. And then she was kind of being coy and shy. And I'm like, and so we can obviously play with it. But when it comes to teaching your kids to avoid strangers, I don't care about being politically correct. They need to know safety. And whatever is easier for them to comprehend, that's what I support. 1-877-Daliah.
Considered by most, optimized curcumin is one of the few bioavailable and highly absorbable curcumin products on the market. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch. Since most chronic diseases have inflammation, our optimized curcumin seems to be a perfect addition to any nutritional program. It makes sense to me that preventing or reducing inflammation is a key component to our overall health. The Mayo Clinic found that curcumin can decrease swelling and inflammation, has antioxidant properties, and research suggests that curcumin can prevent cancer, or at least slow the spread of cancer, and in many instances make chemotherapy more effective. It protects our healthy cells even from radiation. TotalWellness.com, where we help you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen, and big thanks to Daniel, our producer. So when we look at our obesity crisis, the first thing people blame is our fast food. Reason why we're obese is because we go to fast food. I think that's a big part of it. I think there's other reasons why we're obese. We don't have to walk to the factory and work all day. We don't work on the farm like we used to. We walk maybe 15 feet to get to our car in a garage or carport. We drive to work, enter the front entrance, and maybe get less than 2,000 steps a day. I think that's a big part of our obesity. I also think a big part of our obesity is we eat when we want to and not when food is available. We have food everywhere if we want it. People bring food in and you're like, okay, free food. Also, our food choices are full of sugar, preservatives, and things that slow down our metabolism. And we also have hormones and things in our food that I think are very estrogenic and, cause us to distribute and gain more fat. And also, it's our attitude about our portions. We don't just eat a little bit to satisfy what we need to. We gorge. There's a buffet. So I'm going to get my money's worth. I'm going to get extra servings. And I'm going to eat extra so I'm full later. Well, that's not how the body is designed. The body isn't designed to eat, 2-3 plates of food plus then the ice cream bar. That's not how our bodies are designed. But a big reason why we have obesity is this: I need to satisfy myself. I need to be satisfied. And so in the olden days, if there was a turnip, if there was a carrot, if there was goat milk, you ate it because that's what there was. That was sustenance. You didn't have a choice of caliente or mild or green salsa or this texture or pink versus blue cotton candy or I want more salt or sugar. You didn't have choices. And flavors was something that we learned and we perfected, and we have made culinary art with it. But sadly, we lost sight on what the mission is. The mission is to put nutrition into our bodies. The mission is to not starve, to not be unhealthy. So when you ask a child, why do you eat? They go, why are you eating that? Because it tastes good. Why are you eating a Happy Meal? Because it's fun. Okay, when you asked a kid in the olden days, why are you eating? They would say to survive, to live. And so I do the same thing. And I do the same thing. I mean, I want something that's tasty. I'm not eating turnips, and the healthiest foods all the time, because I have taught myself to seek out food that is palatable to me. And that's why we're obese. We want to quench our hunger and when we see these, what is it? Domino Pizza is saying they have a New York style pizza that you fold, and it doesn't really look like, I know New York pizza. That's not New York pizza, but it looks yummy. You're like, well, I want that. Do you need that? Is that going to help you survive? And the funny thing is, we have turned food into something that could kill us. That's not good. Well, things might slowly be changing. One, as people are realizing they got to keep themselves healthy because we don't know what's going to happen with healthcare. but also because it's getting more expensive. And I don't want to buy a $20 McDonald's meal. I like McDonald's. It's one of my favorite fast food places. But I think my last meal, I think I just got a basic meal. It was like $13, $14. Really, from McDonald's? So one report says fast food prices have shot up 33% since 2019. Costs at the supermarket have gone up 26% in the same time. And many places are upping their, because of inflation, because of employee costs, because of now laws such as what you see in California. And so they're saying that there has been a 3.5% drop in fast food visiting in just the first 3 months of this year compared to 2023. According to Daily Mail, chains like McDonald's, Wendy's, Popeyes, Pizza Hut, Chipotle have sold millions of fewer burgers, pizzas, burritos. And, seeing these, like a medium fries at McDonald's, used to be $1.59. It used to be, I think, on their dollar menu. Now it's $3.79, according to this. A Popeyes 2-piece chicken combo meal used to be $6.49 10 years ago. Now it's $11.39. I find it fascinating when I get these cards on my birthday, and they go, what were things like the year you were born? And it showed what the price of a stamp was, what the price of a gallon of milk was. And, you look at what things were and the prices of things back in the 80s and the 90s and the 70s and the 50s and this. What we have done now, I remember being able to buy bread for 99 cents, buy a gallon of milk for 99 cents. And that was within the last 20 years. Now it's impossible. And we have accelerated the cost. And it's going to just keep coming. In fact, according to Finance Buzz, McDonald's menu prices have doubled since 2014. Costs at Popeyes are up 86%. Taco Bell, 81%. Starbucks and Subway, 39%. This is according to Finance Buzz. And so some people will say, well, good, Daliah, this is how we get people off fast food. But does that mean they're going to go to the grocery store and chop up a nice, healthy salad for lunch? Does it mean they're going to get some lean meat, get some vegetables, maybe broil, some chicken, or, lightly cook some fish or bread some fish? Does it mean they're going to be really doing that at home? And fast food is a luxury. To be able to not have to wait for your meal. That's another reason why we're obese. Because you used to have to prep the food. You might sample a little bit. You'd have to then, to make sure it cooked right. There'd be a time delay. And it would take a good hour or two to prepare dinner. Then you would sit down, you'd enjoy the meal. And whatever you were able to afford or cook, that's all. Not really usually a lot for seconds and second helpings. Now it's, I'll grab a burger and it's 99 cents for a second one. Just throw in another one. This is how we trained ourselves. Grab something on the run. We don't have time to cook our meals. Spending all day cooking, sometimes I really like. Now, I don't have time to do it because I'm always working. But it's really enjoyable. Are we actually doing that with our kids? You know how much our kids would love to cook with us? Or they'd love to create? I was blown away at how much my boys love to cook. Because I was always busy and Dad did a lot of the cooking. And I'm like, guys, why don't you help? You want to cook something for us? Do it. Just don't do stupid and light yourself on fire like you did once. So and so sometimes I let the boys cook. Yeah, but we aren't really doing that with kids. We've taught kids that you go and get McDonald's or you go and order a pizza. And some of my best meals are the ones that we home make. Why do you think Thanksgiving is people's favorite meal? Because it's not store-bought. You made this. You created it. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I can't stand seeing these prices skyrocket like this. because they're saying McDonald's 100% increase, Popeyes 86% increase, Taco Bell 81%, Chipotle 75%, Jimmy John's 62%, Arby's, Burger King, Wendy's 55%. People, sadly, who are using these, to afford food, won't be able to afford food. So we better start making our groceries cheaper if we want people healthier and people eating. 1-877 Doc Daliah.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Doc Dali, 1-877-DOCDALI. So there was a Sacramento mom who was on a plane with her 2-year-old daughter. And apparently multiple witnesses saw her kick, backhand, allegedly, because the little one woke her up during a flight from Mexico. This happened on May 1st. And people were kind of shocked because they said that she beat her toddler allegedly like a rag doll on a plane. Passengers tried to intervene, and she cursed them, told them to back off. According to Fox News, Brianna Missler, 33 years old, allegedly shook her daughter like a rag doll while screaming, "Shut the blank up." It sparked a fight with other passengers who tried to protect the child. As according to court documents, Missler allegedly turned her aggression towards the other passengers, telling them to mind your blanking business. And this is the second time in less than 6 months that the Sacramento mother was charged with child endangerment. In December, she allegedly brought her daughter to burglarize her mom's home and slash her mother's tires. Now, I would have, after that, probably gotten Child Protective Services involved. Missler was arrested in Seattle after the flight from Puerto Vallarta landed, and she has been charged in federal court with misdemeanor assault. Prosecutors said even by horrific standards of child abuse cases, this is shocking. It's also the second time she's been charged with endangering a child. So Customs and Border Protection officers detained her at the airport, and the child was cared for by a victim witness specialist. And so, this is interesting because I think some of us have seen parents that are really, really bad. And good for us for intervening. On the other hand, there have been parents or people that just butt in when you're trying to talk to your child or do something. And we're like, we don't need your advice. Thank you. And so, when do you help? When don't you? And, it's interesting because, your relationship with your kids is a tricky one. And they say the terrible twos. It wasn't, with my boys, it wasn't the terrible twos. I think teenage years are much more difficult. But these kids are like, no, I don't want to. No. And it's a baby because I'm a doctor. I understand why they're doing it because I understand the stages of development. And so the kid is, they don't want to drink something. They don't want to eat something. I remember my mom forcing me to eat. And I didn't want to eat. I wasn't hungry. I didn't like the food. Maybe I had a tummy ache. But if I'm saying no, it's because I like my mama's crazy. Don't be making me eat something I don't want to eat. And so, sometimes these kids are right. But in terms of parenting, it's very natural to have, that interaction. We've spoken about parents and kids and development and that kind of stuff. But being woken up and then smacking your child around, you could already see abuse, especially with this whole tire slashing thing of her mom's car. We have an individual who allegedly, these are all allegations, but we have somebody who has a history of showing violent acts towards family members. This child needs to be probably taken away, even if it's temporarily, until we can understand what's going on with this mother. And people always ask, how do parents even hurt their kids? What could possibly be going on in their minds? Your child is the love of your life. You love them so much, and then all of a sudden, they, for those of us that got beat and belted and all that, you're like, why? Okay, well, discipline is not the reason. If somebody is beating you, there's something else going on, and there's something wrong with them. Something seriously wrong. And they have now turned the love of their life, the apple of their eyes, into something that they are now abusing and taking control over and utilizing for their own selfish needs. Now, I get being woken up sucks. My kids, when they woke me up, I wouldn't hit them for it. Now, I remember my husband tried to startle me by pretending there was like a spider crawling on my neck, and I smacked him. It was a reflex smack. I didn't mean, but I wouldn't. Never done that to the kids because my kids know better than to try to do a creepy crawly thing on my neck. They know better. And so, if you're a bystander and you see a parent that is hitting their kid, I am all for you stepping in. That somebody needs to tell that parent that that's cruel. Somebody needs to tell that parent that that's inappropriate. Get them to calm down. Now, how do you do that? Okay, the response you're going to get if you try to go up to somebody who's beating their kid is get the blank. It's just going to be all expletives. So how I would do it, and I've done this, not so much because somebody was getting beat, but there was something going on that I didn't think was right, is I would come up and say, hi, do you guys need any help? Can I help you? Now, I know I'm a stranger, and they're probably like, get the hell away. And I say, it looks like you're struggling. I don't want you getting hurt. I don't want the kid getting hurt. I don't want you getting arrested. Before people are watching, because they're not going to be engaged. There's no reason for them to engage with you if they want to beat their kid in public. But when you tell them, look, people are watching. I don't want you to get arrested. What can I do to help? Now, and maybe they'll calm down. They'll calm down. Here, let me help you with the groceries, or let me this, or, see what you could do to intervene. Try to get their driver's license. Try to get any information that you can, but hopefully intervene. If you think that parent is going to, if you think that parent is going to continue to hurt the kid, I would call authorities. Now, we usually don't tell you to get involved with somebody because I don't want you getting knifed or shot, or, we always say call the authorities, because we don't want you getting hurt. But if you're telling me, if I've seen me, I would go up and I would stand between the mom and her kid. You cannot touch the kid, though. You could get into a lot of trouble touching another person's kid. So you might want to review the laws in your city or state on, what you can do to intervene. But I think it is well within your right to try to protect that kid and then contact the police. And it's not easy. I understand the parents are overwhelmed, they're exhausted, and they might have been beat, and then they sometimes don't know any other option. And we don't teach parenting. We have all this attention on abortion, and there's, but we don't, teach, look, are you ready to have a kid? Are you ready to get pregnant? Now that you're going to have a baby, do you know how to parent? Do we take pregnant women and say, look, we have free parenting classes. Let's answer your questions. What are you fearful of? How many of you in the room? When I taught students, and so when you ask, tell them, ask me any question. Nobody asks. So instead, I'm like, look, how many of you, are kind of hating medical school? How many of you don't? You don't have to raise your hands if you don't want to. Or how many of you are, feeling overwhelmed? For those of you who are, this is what I suggest. And answer a question that might not be there. You're about to have a baby. Any questions? No, I'm good. Do you ever have any fears? Like you might not know how to discipline him, or they might make you angry and you might hit them unintentionally, and they might just stop, and you can read their eyes that there's a concern. Even if you don't have those questions, let me kind of talk about so you know what to do. And we just, my parents didn't know how to parent. It was cruel, some of the stuff they did. And I mean, I love, them, and I always will, but, we need to do a better job because we got people out there that are horrible parents. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE-40.
Hey guys, it's Dr. Daliah. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our Fantasy Football Pocket Guide for Beginners found on Amazon, or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians, only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So there's an interesting study looking at when to take in your calcium to lower your heart attack risk. Do you do it at dinner or breakfast? Now, I'm not a big glass of milk drinker, but I'm also not a big calcium supplement taker because there's been some studies looking at calcium supplements and how your heart attack risk could vary depending on whether you're taking a supplement or whether you're actually taking the real thing. And so I'm more a fan of real, calcium sources. But researchers analyzed the calcium consumption of 36,000 American adults, finding that if you distribute calcium between breakfast and dinner, you have lower risk of cardiovascular disease. And it's even better when you reduce the calcium intake by 5% at dinner, but upping it by 5% at breakfast time. And they say this decreased your cardiovascular risk by 6%. Now, I don't drink a glass of milk at all, so I guess decreasing 0% by 5% is still 0%. But I need to do a better job. I get my calcium from vegetables. They say the researchers noted that dietary calcium can improve blood lipids, fat mass, blood pressure. This is from the New York Post. And your blood pressure, your fats, your body lipids, calcium, we know, good calcium protects the heart. But it has to be the natural form. Dairy products, dark leafy greens, certain fish. And you also have to, let's say if you're doing supplements, your body, I think, could only absorb about 500 milligrams of calcium at a time. So if you're trying to take 1,500 milligrams of calcium a day and you're trying to do it all in one swig, you can't. You need to vary it like by 3 times a day. So this is nothing new. Your body does not people will take a whole bunch of vitamins at once. It's got to be sprinkled in. And so they say from a circadian pattern perspective, your biological clock, they say research suggests that calcium absorption might be slightly higher during the day because certain hormones that are required for calcium metabolism, like the parathyroid hormone, also are usually higher during daylight hours. That's according to Melanie Murphy-Richter, a registered dietitian nutritionist and the director of communications for the nutrition company Prolon, involved in the study. Now, the Mayo Clinic recommends that men 19 to 70 years old and women 19 to 50 years old consume 1,000 milligrams of calcium a day. If a man is over 71 and a woman's over 51, they should be taking 1,200 milligrams a day. The upper limit, the max, is about 2,500 milligrams a day for adults under 50, 2,000 milligrams for those of you who are older than 50. So what are we looking at? Well, a cup of milk, 300 milligrams of calcium. A cup of cooked spinach, 240 milligrams. 3 ounces of sardines, which I don't really eat, 370 milligrams. That's according to University of California, San Francisco Health. So, you really need to have a good diet, and you might have to even have fortified dairy alternatives. But some of these calcium supplements, I know some people say, you know what, I take a Tums and Rolaids every day, so I'm good. Calcium carbonate, might be a fantastic acid reducer, but when you lower your acid, you might not be absorbing your calcium well. These proton pump inhibitors that people take, Nexium, Protonix, Prilosec, fantastic medications in terms of controlling heartburn, but we find people have bone density loss when they take those medications. Why? Well, because maybe you need the acid to help absorb some of the calcium sources. It could also be that they've been taking antacids with calcium for so long that when they stop doing it to switch over, their body's like, hey, wait a second, where's our calcium? So it's an interesting study, definitely something that needs to be looked at. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So one of my favorite movies growing up was Grease. Grease is a word that you heard. And, I love that movie. And, seeing the loss of Olivia Newton-John, that just, that was not easy. She was a favorite, in the 70s and 80s. And, the characters on Grease, like John Travolta, just so talented. Well, sadly, we have another star from Grease who has died, Susan Buckner. Susan Buckner was the one who was the cheerleader, Patty. She was the one that got Sandy, Olivia Newton-John's character, into cheerleading. And she was kind of the goody two-shoes that the pink ladies didn't like. Sadly, she has died at the age of 72. She died peacefully in Miami, Florida, around her family. And she was Patty Simcox. That's who she was. kind of prim and proper and all that. And these stories are, these headlines always kind of bug me a little bit because, time is changing and it can be really, really depressing. If you look at the world in a lens of, what you grew up with isn't still there, and these people age and these people leave, and it's, but also on the other end, it could be very enlightening, and many of us still think like me. I still think in my head I'm in my 20s, and so when I sometimes struggle a little bit with something athletic that I used to be able to do that I can't do anymore, or I see a picture of myself and I go, wait a second, that's not me. Wait a second, I'm cuter than that. What? Wait a second, whoa. You can't keep living in the past. And it's interesting because if you're a baby boomer, your frame of reference with the world is baby boomer, and everybody's younger than you. When you're a Gen X, it's like, well, you got your baby boomers, you got your millennials, your Gen Zs, but we're kind of the core. We are the equator of it all. No, we're not. Gen X's are now middle age. We're aging. Right? And then you got the millennial, and so we all kind of think that this is the way life is supposed to be. That's the way it always was. This is the normalcy, and it's not. And it's moving quickly, and time is moving super quickly. And that saying, life is like a roll of toilet paper. The closer you get to the end, the faster it rolls. I don't want you to be depressed by that. What we need to do is embrace life and understand that don't put off tomorrow what you could do today. What's interesting, my son has a work trip. And I need to go to Talkers next month, for a conference, Talkers Magazine. That's where I'm going to be singing the Star Spangled Banner. Yes, I'm practicing. I know. Don't worry, I won't make you listen to it if it's bad. But I think I can pull it off. I can sing the Star Spangled Banner. I got the range. But my son said, Mom, fly with me. Fly with me. I got to go to Germany. Fly with me, and then connect over. And luckily, I had miles and I had points, so it wasn't really going to cost me much. And, at first I was like, well, that's going to be a hassle. It's going to cost money. I'm going to be jet lagged. I'm going to be tired. And I'm like, why am I saying no to this? My son wants to spend time with me. Yeah, and I'm like, we could go to the Black Forest. We could go and see castles. We could go. And I'm like, oh, hell yeah. But my first inclination was, well, I have to work. And I have to do it. And I start to come up with excuses to not live. Live. Especially if you're able to pull some resources together, to make it work. Friends, this is their 20th year of going off air. Friends started 30 years ago. It can get to you. So enjoy life now. 1-877-Daliah. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.